Okay. The end. What a delightful read that was.
So enriching for the soul.
Do you care for a pot of tea?
Of course.
Cheers. Are you tired of pretentious snobs when it comes to English literature? Well, if so, you've come to the right place.
Welcome to LitLove,
where you can prepare for that book you didn't read for class in under 10 minutes.
because what's time to read a novel anyway?
Well, we do, and we're here to do it for you. Today we're going to be looking at a poem by Robert Browning titled My Last Duchess. My Last Duchess is what we refer to as a dramatic monologue. What's that, you ask? If this is what you were thinking,
to be or not to be, that is the question.
Then you're wrong. A dramatic monologue, similar to a theatrical monologue, differs from a soliloquy and has 3 defining characteristics.
1. It is spoken by a person who is not the poet. Instead, the poet speaks through an assumed voice, character, or persona. 2. The speaker addresses or interacts with other individuals, but all that we know of them is given to us by the character.
3. The point of a dramatic monologue is to get a better understanding of the psychological depth of a character. Keep in mind that it differs from a soliloquy, where a speaker is relaying his or her internal thoughts to an audience.
The narrator of the poem is the Duke of Ferrara, who is speaking to another nobleman whose daughter he is soon to marry. The Duke pulls back the curtains to reveal a portrait of his previous wife, and we are told that it was painted by a man named Fra Pandolf. The Duke believes that he captured the very essence of her person, and her glance is so real it's as if she's still alive.
See, that's where things kind of take a turn for the worst. Apparently the Duke's 900-year-old name wasn't enough to keep his lady satisfied. Shocker. And she may have enjoyed a lot of stares that didn't necessarily come from the Duke. You know what I mean?
I can't help it that I'm popular.
So you may be thinking, the woman wanted a bit of attention. What's wrong with that?
Is that really such a crime?
You have to keep in mind that this poem was written in the Victorian era, where the confines of marriage were a lot stricter than they are now.
But this also doesn't excuse the fact the Duke is fucking creepy.
Precious!
Browning gives us a glimpse into an extremely patriarchal society. It was assumed that once married, women would do little to associate themselves with other men.
So, what's up with that? The poem then takes an even darker turn. The Duke, as we previously mentioned, says that his wife wasn't shy with her smiles. Those smiles that she gave the Duke didn't really differ from the smiles she gave, well, the milkman.
So clearly the Duke favors a patriarchal society and was not one for female empowerment. The role of women was confined to the domestic sphere, where they were expected to look pretty and take care of the household.
Isn't it all, who's going to the ball tonight? My corset is askew, however will I curtsy? Well, forgive me, but I'm just a little bit tired of female empowerment. What would be truly innovative? A movie without a kick-ass girl, or better yet, a movie where a woman gets her ass kicked.
So basically this predates the modern day, hey, let's look through my girlfriend's phone. Instead, it was more of a, how dare he smile at my wife in such a manner.
Basically, because the Duke is a huge paranoid control freak, he eventually gives commands and the smiles stop altogether. Now, he doesn't explicitly say that he killed her, but it's safe to say that he's referring to murder. The last couple of lines of the poem, he describes a statue of Neptune, and the poem concludes on that awkward note.
Let's also keep in mind that he's talking to a potential father-in-law about how he murdered his last wife. Might want to keep that on the down low, buddy. So this is an extremely complex poem, filled with a lot of ideas about the time Browning was writing in, and the aristocratic life in general. The first theme is the human ability to rationalize. This is a very psychological poem, and it's worth taking a closer look. The Duke rationalizes his reasons for murdering his wife through the majority of the poem, but perhaps the evil Duke is a victim of societal expectations.
For instance, the Duke cannot get over the fact that his wife showed so little respect for his 900-year-old name. The Duke is part of a social hierarchy that existed for generations. When you combine the superficial nature of Victorian society, his own aristocratic title and sense of entitlement, he's able to rationalize his course of action. but at the same time he's a victim of social norms that he so readily defends.
Going off the artificial nature of Victorian society, this poem is also commentary on, well, art. His love now rests in a mere representation of once was, which leads us to a common question debated amongst scholars. Can a work of art really capture the complexity of an individual? Basically, the Duke's sense of self is based off of performance, and his wife is ultimately transformed into an ideal based off of his superficial reality.
Now, the Duke is a pretty charming fellow.
How you doing?
And he has the ability to manipulate language in a way that convinces us that his wife is guilty.
But maybe in reality he's just, I don't know, really paranoid and his wife's actually innocent?
In fact, he places the reader in a position of his guest and tells us how to look at the portrait and how we should interpret her gaze. However, he fails to mention how old she was, and for all we know, she could have been very young. Maybe a little
Too young? Even after her death, he exerts control over her via the portrait.
He talks about her heart, which was too soon made glad. Her looks went everywhere. Basically, everything she did upset him. The girl could do no right.
His many false interjections of, I know not how, reinforces his superficial and very planned dialogue, as if he's reading from a script.
Overall, the Duke is one clever son of a bitch, and as the readers of the poem, we have to be wary of his intentions.
Now it's time for Lesson of the Day.
Make sure the man you fall for isn't a raging psychopath.
Furthermore, clearly nothing good can come from having your portrait painted. Let's just stick to selfies. See you next time on LitLove.